Okay, let's try talking into the microphone this time. If we can.
Just as an experiment.
Yeah, unless you've got your ice cream, in which case don't talk
I'll
into
put it back in the freezer for now. Thanks very much.
Okay, good. Hello and welcome to the Gerry and Scarlett show. This is my wife, Scarlett.
And this is my first husband, Gerry.
First husband.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
First. That's a nice bit of information to pick up there. So let's get straight on to this week's reviews.
Yeah, we're talking Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
We are talking The Covenant, and we are talking Without Sin.
Yeah, so we've got 2 series there and 1 film. Shall we crack straight on with as soon as that train's gone? We are outside because the weather's still brilliant. So we thought we'd carry on.
Why not? Yeah, it didn't really interrupt it too much last time, so we thought we'll test it again and see.
People like trains going through podcasts, don't they?
Yeah, it's quite exciting. Maybe our USP, you know.
Who's that guy on Instagram that does all the train stuff? What's his name?
I don't know. I think you might have a different Instagram following.
People like trains is what I'm saying. Okay, but they also like Ted Lasso.
They
Look at
do
that slick.
also like Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso is hugely popular. Ted Lasso is now on its 3rd season, and that's what we're going to delve into. So, in the 12-episode 3rd season of Ted Lasso, the newly promoted AFC Richmond faces ridicule as media predictions widely pegged them as last in the Premier League. And Nate, now hailed as quote-unquote the Wonder Kid, has gone to work for Rupert at West Ham United.
Right, so this is the 3rd series of the comedy, which was originally, I believe, based on a sketch from Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
So Jason Sudeikis in the
Coach
role of
Beard.
Yeah, and Coach Beard. Look, there's some lovely, brilliant characters in this. But you can always tell when a sketch has got enough mileage in it to have a series, let alone 3 series like this.
And also their compatibility, their sort of likability between the pair of them is just that epic.
Oh yeah,
Brendan
the chemistry's
Hunt and
there.
Jason Sudeikis.
I think it's cool when a show like this can happen. I mean, look, it's actually quite a done comedy trope in a sense, the Americans not understanding soccer ball and all that kind of thing,
and that's
all it is really. It is a sketch, but there's something really nice about Ted Lasso, and I think that's what we keep saying this to people, don't we? You're like, it's just nice TV, and I think sometimes that's what people want, is something that's like, it is funny,
there's good
storylines in it as well, there's genuine laughing moments,
great actors, good characters,
really funny comedy cast, but like good dramatic moments and stuff as well, but it's not heavy in any way, is it?
No.
In this series though, we were a bit worried. We obviously reviewed this earlier in our series. We had to talk about it because I was a bit worried about this season, to be honest.
Yes, and I didn't thoroughly enjoy the beginning of this season. I thought it was good, but not nearly as good. And I think so. There's a big difference, I think, between this season and the first season. One of the major differences is the time.
Yeah.
So So from the first season, let's actually play a game, right?
Okay.
So first season.
Well, first, can I just say what I was worried about? Why I came into it? Yeah, because it is so nice and it is almost sickly sweet at times, isn't it? Everyone's kind of lovely. The drama, and there's a couple of pantomime villains in it, really. I mean, it is just a bit lovely, and I thought, how much of that can we take? Because Ted's such a nice guy, and I was also worried about him, the fish out of water thing. After a while, he is supposed to be an intelligent guy. Can he still not know who Wolverhampton Wanderers are and stuff like that? But I think they really dealt with that really well with some key kind of bits this year. It was a bit more in depth, wasn't it?
Yes.
But they did do some big changes, and you're right, the time length was a major one.
Yeah, so first season was fairly solidly on the 30-minute mark.
Yeah.
They kept it between 29 minutes and 33 minutes for the entire season. And bear in mind, this is on a streamer, so they're not on a hard deadline. So yeah, between 29 minutes and 33 minutes. Yeah. Second season, what do you think they went to from there?
So it was, the first one was 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Did they jump up to 40s? Did they do that?
So interestingly, the second season seemed a bit more flexible. It went from 30 minutes to 49 minutes.
Wow, that's quite a
difference
variance,
of 20 minutes, which is I think there's a bit of a problem if I'm being completely honest with that. There's somebody.
Do you quite enjoy watching an episode and you're like, you know, in your head the timing of it, you're like, it's probably the episode's winding up now. Whereas that would wrong foot you, wouldn't it? Because you'd be feeling it's wrapping up and then there'd be a whole other like act.
Yeah, I think it's more that I think a lot of scripts need a right good edit.
Yeah.
And if you've got the blueprint of being told you've got a certain number of pages that you might need to cut it back to, then it's not going to be flabby. It's going to be tight. It's going to be racy. It's going to have loads of jokes in it, especially comedies. Then if you can't make a 30-minute script when it's supposed to be a 30-minute script, I feel someone is not being told no enough in the edit.
Yeah.
So to have it from flexing from 30 minutes to 49 minutes for me is a bit of a red flag, but I still enjoyed season 2. So, you know,
yeah,
take
I
that
didn't
as you
actually
will.
notice it myself,
Yeah.
to be fair, but you're right. It's
And
quite unusual.
then we hit season 3, right? And what do you think the timings were roughly in season 3?
Well, it felt it was surprisingly longer, but I only really noticed it towards the end when they were getting more done dramatically.
Yeah,
obviously.
so it ranges in season 3 from 43 minutes, which is quite by far the shortest ones, I think, to 78 minutes.
Right, okay, yeah.
So, I mean,
like
that...
a lot of movies.
Yeah, which is a bit wild. And I don't think it necessitated that, if I'm being completely honest. I think there was some flabby episodes in season 3. However, there was also some utterly beautiful ones.
Yeah.
So I think maybe if they'd had a relook at the whole thing, maybe they might have been able to cut some.
Yeah.
Flab.
Do you know what? I think there is something, ultimately, I think it's quite a special show.
It is. It really is. I loved it. I don't want to take that away from it.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, look, it's on a platform. Not many people have Apple TV. There isn't loads to drag them there, but this is the one that people do talk about. And you just think, like, if this was on Netflix or Prime or whatever, it would be...
Apple TV's killing it now, though.
I know, you're right. There is loads of great stuff on it, but it's not the one, it's not a dominator of the market like Netflix is, or like our iPlayer, people have got access to that. So you think, like, this is a kind of show that is doing really well in spite of it not being on the most watched platform. And I think it's got lovely characters in it. There's a lot of what we call Northwest crapalogues, isn't there? Where someone starts off with, like, when I was growing up, my dad did it, and there's always something about my dad like this, and like we mentioned this.
Especially the character Jamie Tart.
The Manchester
he gets a lot
footballer
of
superstar.
really good ones. Yeah.
My dad never cared about me, so I just got on with it, got on with my life, and then one day I found him dead. And there's all one of these kind of, it don't matter. And I found out he wasn't me. Dad, none of that's
really only Jamie Tart, isn't it?
Yeah, he gets a couple of seasons, doesn't he?
Yeah,
I get excited
he
when they
delivers
come
it
up.
brilliantly. So overall, we loved it. Generally speaking, I think it was really, really good, and a really lovely antidote to what's coming next.
Yeah. Okay. Well, give me your ratings first for that. Because, I mean, first of all, I don't want it to sound down on it, because I was a wee bit kind of apprehensive. What do you do with this very sweet character, Ted Lasso? But actually, they did add loads of stuff into it. And the big question mark is, have they decided to finish it off, or is there going to be another series? I think a lot of people kind of feel like it's done, like, leave it there. It's quite nice. But having watched the last episode, I do feel like it's set up for another one. It's certainly set up for a pivot. Yeah, which I think is a really smart thing.
All the cast and all the interviews that I've certainly read and seen, they are suggesting that Coach Lasso, Ted Lasso himself, is done. His storyline is done.
Right.
And I think Jason Sudeikis has said that himself. But that there are openings, certainly within that final rundown, that would suggest that perhaps the girls might get a spin-off.
Yeah.
Keely and what's Hannah Waddington's character?
Victoria? No. I don't know.
Oh,
Jessica?
No. It's gone.
She just owns a club.
Yeah. So they deserve a very, very awesome spin-off, I think.
Which would be great. It's just nice.
Really
there
fun.
is some mad things in it, like people going from Kit Boy to managers of clubs, and then back to Kit Boy, and all this kind of. There's a lot of mad stuff, and then there's some things that I don't think Premiership footballers would actually go and say in real life.
A lot of that,
but, there's a lot of that. But you know what? It adds to it being nice, and there is still drama, and you still very much care about the characters.
Yes.
And I would actually like to see more, but maybe not the Ted Lasso story. I think that does feel, even as much as I love him, and Jason Sudeikis is brilliant in it.
The girls out.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, okay. So your ratings for that then?
I'm giving that 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm going to go 4.5, because I think there's going to be so many people out there that this will end up being their favourite show. I think there's not a lot like it at the moment.
Yeah, it's
so I'm
really
going to go
special.
4.5 for that one.
Yeah, that's fair.
Cool. Right, next up it is the
Covenant. Not the 1984 Covenant, not Chase Crawford's 2006 Covenant, nor Clint James' 2017 Covenant. This is Guy Ritchie's The Covenant.
There is a lot of Covenants in it. I remember when it came out going like, oh, is this like an old film that they've got on Prime?
That's what I thought. Yeah, I thought it was a remake of one of those. It's not. It's the fourth The Covenant, as far as the IMDb can show. And
do you remember you were saying like it's Guy Ritchie's Covenant? I was like, well, that's because like he's pretty much written and directed it. You're like, oh, I thought that was just them trying to get their name like in there. You know, like Quentin Tarantino is, but Quentin Tarantino wrote it and directed it. But I don't know if I think he co-wrote this, The Covenant.
Yeah, he co-wrote it. Yeah. but it's also because there is all those other names out there. So I think that's actually, to be perfectly honest with you, the main reason. It's the practicality of having to say Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. So yeah.
It's a bit of a Guy Ritchie fest on Prime at the moment, isn't it? They've got all these old films on there, and then Operation Rudiger is on there. But give us the rundown of The Covenant then. So give us a synopsis.
So, it's very short. Yeah. During the war in Afghanistan, a local interpreter risks his own life to carry an injured sergeant across miles of grueling terrain.
Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Dar Salim, and Anthony Starr.
And I believe it is based on, I don't think it's based on specifically a single story, but I think it's based on a lot of experiences of...
Yeah, it's not, it's a fictionalization
of what happened with these translators in Afghanistan who helped the army, the Allied forces there, and NATO forces there, and a lot of them were left, with promises fulfilled to get them out of there.
I think is why this is so hard hitting, because it really is brutal. It is the complete opposite to Ted Lasso. It's really it's an incredible story of it's a hero story, really. But
it's also the complete, you say it's opposite to Ted Lasso. It's also the complete opposite to Operation Fortune, Rudiger. Amazing for Guy Ritchie to have these two films out, maybe because of COVID and stuff like that. There's been a bit of a build up with these things, but that was such fun, such a almost kind of slapstick action, quips and stuff like that. And this is much more gritty, Black Hawk Down feel. It feels like they're in danger. It feels like there's a lot of kind of dark anger in it, and there's a real kind of hero story in it. And I wasn't expecting it. And I think I probably owe Guy Ritchie an apology, really. I know he watches the show. And because I was expecting something, I kept talking about like the maturity of his filmmaking now, which is just so arrogant for me to say that. But you think about Lock, Stock, you think about these almost juvenile kind of Cockney films, and then here's these two different movies. One's an action comedy, and this one's like a gritty, like kind of full-on action drama, and they're both fantastic in completely different ways. And they don't feel necessarily like Guy Ritchie films in the way that a Tarantino film is.
That's what's weird about him.
Just good movies.
I think maybe that's the problem with him calling it a Guy Ritchie film, is that actually it's almost not a disservice, because I'm not saying that Guy Ritchie films are bad. It's just that would suggest that it's in the Lock, Stock sort of genre, and it's not. It's but in the same way that Rudiger's not either. Like he's really done incredible things.
Do you know one thing I would say, like even when like Sherlock, when he made the Sherlock Holmes film, like there was this, I've got my bee in the bonnet. There's a certain shot you see in like movies and stuff and series, and it was in Citadel, and the camera starts off upside down, so we open up and the camera's upside down, and it usually rotates into the action, and you're like, there's no need for it. It doesn't mean anything. You all end up cocking your head for no reason, and it's different if you use it because a character's, in this case, the Covenant. In the Covenant, he wakes up and he is upside down, and there's like an upside down scene, and it's slowly, and you're like, and it makes sense. It has a meaning. It's not just for no reason. And even in Sherlock, you had one where he's watching Sherlock running down the street, and it bends underneath, and then pans, and it doesn't mean anything.
No.
Whereas Covenant and Rudiger, none of that nonsense is in there. Every shot means something. So I guess that's what I mean by the styles changed. Yes. I really, really like it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's not sentimental either. I think they could easily fall into sentimentality in this film, because it is such a sad story, really, like in terms of knowing what's going on currently for Afghan interpreters, that a lot of them have still been left there, and are facing these really, really difficult decisions and really difficult lives with their families, should be added. So it's really a hard watch, but it's brilliant. My only criticism, I think, of this film is that it focuses a little bit too much on Jake Gyllenhaal's journey when he's back home. It's a focus on his depression and how sad he feels about having left him behind, and I would actually prefer the flip on that, a bit of that, but also to see how Dar Salim's character is surviving and where he's going with, and like more on him at that point, because he's he's in active danger at that point,
and his family,
and his family, and he's just got a baby, and you see a bit of it, but I think that was the only thing that I felt a little bit robbed of at that time.
I quite like that, because it was about the guilt. The Covenant was about, there's an unwritten agreement. This guy saved your life. And
I just felt it was a wee bit Western. It was like, look at us struggling in our big fancy houses that, we've got a bit of the guilt. And this poor guy's like, struggling.
I liked it because when the action in it was so good, and I think like when they do come back after all that angst and what have you, like it's so tense because of it, because you're worrying about these people. And look, I thought the action was incredibly well put together. I think Jake Gyllenhaal is one of those people now makes really good decisions.
Now. You've changed.
What should I say? Gyllenhaal?
I thought it was Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal?
It is Gyllenhaal.
You're right, it is a double A. Yeah.
Jake makes great choices.
Yeah. Jake, our pal Jake,
and
makes excellent choices. And I think he might get an Oscar for this.
Really, he could do, actually.
And I think Dar Salim will almost certainly get a supporting one for this. He ought to, if he doesn't.
Well, I thought it was... Now, you're right. I really, really enjoyed this one. Right, okay, go for your rating. What are you going to go for?
4.5. It's almost perfect.
I'm going to say 4, and I'm feeling a bit guilty about it. Yeah, I just think like it's an action film. It's great. I would really recommend it to everyone.
Yeah,
I don't know if
it's a hard watch, but
though.
it's worth a watch. Yeah, I wouldn't rewatch it because it is hard to watch, because it is really sad, and because it's still unfolding. I think that's the worst part.
Yeah,
is that you're watching it knowing that this is happening to people right now, not the main crux of the story, but the actual background of the story. That there are these interpreters in hiding at the moment. Like that's awful. Anyway,
well, the train's come. I think we could use the train as a noise to move us on. Yeah, because they actually come every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So our next one is it Without Sin,
which is on ITVX. This you haven't watched this one. No, I watched this one alone while you were away. So this is a 4-part drama, psychological thriller. Without Sin explores the relationship which develops between a grieving mother and the man she believes murdered her daughter. When contacted by Restorative Justice, who's a group, and in an attempt to move on, Stella and Paul, so the mum and dad, reunite to listen to a taped recording of Charles, who they believe wants to atone for his sins and apologise for murdering their daughter.
Oh.
So
Ted Lasso would tell her just to forgive him. No problem.
This is not Ted Lasso.
Yeah, it's not.
This is very dark. It's starring Vicky McClure and her real life best friend Johnny Harris, another This Is England alumni, and another This Is England alumni, Perry Fitzpatrick.
Getting the old gang back together.
They really are. It will not surprise you to know that this is filmed, acted, written in Nottingham. So that, I think that's probably why a lot of the gang got back together. And it's very dark. I mean, any drama involving the main characters outliving their child is going to be incredibly emotional and hard-hitting, and it is. But Vicky McClure, in fact, all of those are brilliant in this. The cast is really excellent. Her character is totally lost, grieving, struggling to cope 3 years on, where the story picks up. She's working as an Uber driver, trying to sort of avoid life by just living in the dark, working at night. And her husband has been able to move on, obviously still traumatized by it, but has been able to move on, has a new partner, and his life seems to be in a fairly good situation. And the story really develops and kind of twists through halfway through, so that it's just, quite quickly actually, so that it's entirely not what you're expecting. And it's just it's really good. I think it's her production company actually. So this is their first foray into sort of getting something going from the ground up, and I think she's done a brilliant job with it.
I think Vicky McClure is heading very steadily towards national treasure status.
Oh yeah, big time.
She's just such a
certainly
strong
Midlands
performer.
National treasure already.
Yeah. You go regional first, don't you?
Oh, 100%. She's 100% regional.
Yeah.
She's got what do they call it? The key of the town or whatever. I'm sure she's probably got that. Yeah.
So fair. I think that's fair enough.
Yeah.
And no, but just like she's another performer that you just know is like makes good decisions with the parts and stuff like that. And regardless of the overall standard of the production, she'll always shine in
lift it.
And I don't just mean like she shines in a bad thing; she shines in a good thing.
Oh yeah, well, and she'll lift it. Whatever it is, she'll lift it. I mean, this doesn't need lifting. It's an excellent script that she's obviously helped with. I would suspect from the start, from the get-go, and has been quite flexible with it. And he's brilliant as well. And they have incredible chemistry, all of them.
And how many episodes?
4. It's only a 4-parter. Right. So it's.
Did you feel each one was very Moorish then? So it kind of like because that.
No, because it's heavy. It's not something I would say. It's not a binge watcher. Right. I spread it out over a week. I think I did one a night and filtered in something really banal, like Selling Sunset, or one of these. You struggle
with something heavy and then go to bed, don't you?
Yeah,
like, I don't know. Lots of people are like that, I suppose. Yeah.
So I like something light after it. So I didn't binge it. But I mean, you could, and if that's your thing, you absolutely can, obviously. But they're
but it's heavy.
But it is quite heavy and very character driven, so it's quite nice to ruminate on it.
It's heavy, but did you feel it deserved that? Because I do sometimes feel like you watch something and it's like needlessly like just trauma after trauma, and you're like,
it's not that at all.
The story doesn't do it, but this hangs well.
Yeah, because it's not. It's just the one trauma, you know, and you know from the outset that it's about the murder of her daughter that happened in their house. So you know that that's the big thing that starts it all off, and actually the rest of it is uncovering local crimes and the fact that her daughter had a secret life that she wasn't aware of, which I think is all of our fears. That your teenage child has something going on that you do not know about. So there is other things at play, you know, psychologically speaking, and parental fears sort of in there, and so it's really strong. It really is strong.
This kind of plot line is what I call like the reverse Disney. You know, like Disney obviously tries to reach out to kids by
killing off
the only thing that they care about, the wee selfish buggers in life, which is like a parental figure has to die early on for them to go, oh, that's really sad, or someone gets their birthday forgotten. Those are the two things that they can do with them. And then the reverse thing, obviously, for parents is that loss of a child. That is the psychological thriller for adults. So that sounds fantastic. Right, okay, so do you want to give us a rating for that then?
What did I say? 4 out of 5.
You said 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5.
And I'll double it for that.
So double it for 8 out of 5.
Fantastic. There you go. We did for 8 out of 5. Right, okay. Next week, I don't know what we fancying then. I'd quite like seeing where we're going with this. I kind of fancy some more movies for next week.
I think we'll do movies next week.
Although we have actually a really good heads up. Barry has got another series, which is about the hitman who ended up in an acting class and tries to balance his life. It is a dark comedy, but absolutely phenomenal. One of my favorite series of all time, and I hadn't realized the current series had been going on. So I think maybe we might get through a bit of that and give that a review.
I might watch The Little Mermaid.
The Little Mermaid. We might be having a very different week.
Yeah, and also Barbie. And my 2 picks for the week. So those two sound very exciting.
We might have to negotiate about that. But in the meantime, thank you for joining us. Keep an eye out for the next episode. Please do like and subscribe if you're on YouTube, and consider helping us out on Patreon if you fancy it. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye.